What is up, Wizards fans? Welcome to another Believe in Wizards podcast. I'm Matt Modderno. He's Jahadi White. Jahadi, how's it going? You're in Peach Jam. How are the boys doing?
Matt, my man. Good. I'm down here in Augusta, Georgia / South Carolina. You know, Peach Jam is always a big event for Nike, for especially high school basketball. So I watched a lot of great players. I watched our 17U team, mostly coached by Brad Beal, play against Mocan 17U team, which has we have the number 2 point guard in the country. They have the number 1 point guard in the country, and it was a good battle. Then this morning, I went to in that Mocan Valley Bill game. They beat us. They inched it out. They won. But actually, both guards could have been more impressive.
That's cool.
Yeah, and
good when everybody plays well.
Say what?
It's good when everybody plays well.
Yeah, it is. And this morning, I watched Carlos Boozer has 2 sons.
Yep.
It's very good. And then there's a kid from Maine.
Cooper Flagg.
So,
yeah. How was that game?
Oh, it was really good. That was a good one. That's one for the books right there. That game was packed. It was like an NBA game. The gym was no standing room. It was standing room only. So that was good.
So those are probably the 2 top prospects, I think, in the 2026 draft class. So I think some Wizards fans listening to this right now are hoping that we're bad by then and can get one of those 2 guys at least.
Yeah. And hopefully both, because those are some great players.
And that would be cool.
That's NBA guys right there. It's just one and done. They're NBA. You'll see them in a draft in 2 years.
I believe it. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. And I meant to watch that game. It was a little early for me this morning, but I'm going to go back and check it out after the fact here. Before we really get rolling here on the show, as always, we're brought to you by Stateside Vodka and their Surfside hard iced teas, hard lemonades, all that delicious stuff. And also BetOnline. BetOnline is your number 1 source for all your betting needs. Get the latest odds, lines, and matchup reports for baseball, boxing, golf, tennis. You can bet on Wimbledon, all this stuff, Summer League even, WNBA. BetOnline continues to be the fastest and easiest way to place your wagers, including live betting and your favorite casino and card games. Head to the website and use our promo code BELIEVE, BLEAV, for your 50% off welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, Jahadi, I think the right place to start here is just since we last talked, Kyle Kuzma is back in a Wizards uniform. He signed a 4-year, $102 million deal. I personally am all for it. We had talked about it on the last show. We both kind of hoped he would come back. And, now that you've seen the deal and the deal that other people, his peers have gotten, how do you feel about the contract?
Well, as you've seen the way the cards are playing out, the writing was pretty much on the wall who they wanted to keep. You saw Brad, they want to let go of Brad. I was personally surprised that they let go of Porzingis. I thought Porzingis was the one they wanted to keep, but once we saw the guys coming in, who they were bringing in, I felt, okay, they sound like they really want to be faster, younger, faster, more of a slashing team. So once Porzingis was let go to the Celtics, then it really let me know that I see what they're building. They want to be young. They want to be aggressive. They want to build more of instead of such a spread in the floor team, they want to be a slashing team, a team that can really get up and down the floor, right? And Porzingis just really wouldn't. He would be trailing too much to get up and down. So I really like the move to re-sign Kuzma and fitting with what I got from the Wizards. It's been a long day, man. Long morning.
A lot of names.
Warriors, Jordan Poole.
Yeah.
And Bilal. I think that's a really good backcourt.
You've got a couple guys already that can play multiple positions, and I think that's probably the biggest thing they're seeing with Kuzma too, is like he can run some offense. He can be a 3-4-5, depending on the situation. That seems to be the kind of mold of player they like.
Right. Yeah, you can switch him. He's transitional. You can put him. He can play 3, 4, or 5, and he can bring the ball down the court.
Yep.
Right. So now you can take Jordan Poole, put him at 2. Bilal at 1. It's a flexible offense to where it would be those would be some tough players to guard if they run some good sets and a good motion.
I think this allows them to be competitive enough this year too, kind of like what Utah did last year, where they surprised some people by, hey, we're young, we're aggressive, we got some guys that maybe have more to their game than they've been able to show thus far, but not so good that they play their way out of a lottery pick for next year.
Right, but so I'm thinking that West is going to change his offense. We're not going to see the same offense as last year.
I hope so.
Because the type of players we have doesn't fit the offense of last year.
Right.
Right.
I hope this group runs on everything. Like when you got young dudes, you should be in a track meet every night.
Group track meet every night. The ball movement, so a lot of movement in motion, a lot of back cuts, a lot of screens, it's a lot of motion on each side to the point to where every defender has to be so busy he can't help. Yeah. Right. This looks like a great group for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally agree. And I think that's like the on-court benefit of Kuzma too, is that whatever one of these new guys you try out or want to put him, like he plugs and plays with the whole rest of this roster. So you have a competent NBA veteran with some championship experience. He can talk about, hey, LeBron taught me this, right? Rajon Rondo taught me this. Like, I think, hey, in this situation, maybe you should have gone here. Like he can help you be a coach on the floor. And I know Wizards fans, a certain percentage of them question his shot selection and things like that, but it's also in a contract year last year, and we didn't have the same complaints the year before. So maybe we see a more settled down Kuzma, that plays within himself a little bit more and can help kind of make things easier for these other young guys too.
Well, you're going to see now Kuzma has to be a leader.
Yep.
And that really would change the dynamic of everything. It's going to be when you're a leader, can't take a lot of crazy shots, but also you get to dictate, right? So I think that's a great thing. But also, Kuzma did what he did last year without not one play being ran for him.
Yeah, it's true.
Right?
And he wasn't afraid to call that out either.
Yeah. So he was effective without any of the offense catering to him at all. So, which really actually speaks bigger volumes than you can really think. Because now, Brad was all fourth quarter. Everything was Brad fourth quarter. Yep. Everything was Kuzma the first and the third. I mean, everything was Porzingis the first and the third, right? So, which means that's pretty much everything is ran for you. He pretty much still averaged very good numbers without even being part of the offense.
Yep. And people talk about that. Okay.
Right. And now they're going to build around him.
Yep.
So I don't think you'll get as many crazy shots.
Agreed.
When it's a lot of plays being ran specifically for you.
And not to pile on Monte Morris, who also left in free agency here. He left as a part of a trade during free agency night. He'll be with Detroit for a second round pick, which I don't know. I thought we'd get 2 seconds at least. Seemed a little light, but Kuzma, I think you mentioned not only plays not run for him, they weren't getting him like easy looks either. Even when he had to do Monte wasn't creating such an advantage that he was kicking out to Kuzma with an easy, wide open shot. He did a lot of I had to dribble 3 times and then shoot it. I think Tyus Jones is a little bit better of a creator for people, and he can get into the teeth of the defense a little bit more. Even Jordan Poole, I think, can drive and kick and things like that. So not only will we see plays run specifically for Kuzma, I think even when a play breaks down, he might be able to do that with like a slightly better advantage than he had previously. So that's my hope, is we just get better, smarter, efficient-er Kuzma, and then all the off-court stuff is a huge benefit too.
Right. Well, yeah, I agree. I definitely agree with you. And I think if the Wizards are smart, they say, okay, we can get scoring from Jordan Poole. We know he can score. We have to now expand his game and let him grow into a facilitator as well. If we can, and he can be a smart facilitator, right, we can really have something. And I think, to me, that's, if I was a betting guy, that would be their goal, is to make Jordan Poole a just as much facilitator as a one-trick scorer.
I think when you look at the success of like the Miami Heat in this playoffs, you see that they had a bunch of guys that could all dribble, pass, shoot, defend, or at least 3 of the 4, and do multiple things. And now you've got Poole. Can he be a facilitator and score? Kuzma, can he be a facilitator and score? Like Coulibaly, he can do a little bit of both. Patrick Baldwin Jr., he can actually facilitate more than I think we've gotten to see from him so far. Ryan Rollins, like that's sort of the blueprint of guys is they want everybody to be a threat to create, score, pass, shoot, defend. Like versatility seems to be everything they're building with this roster so far. And not to knock on Brad, because I think he was a better creator than he gets credit for, but it wasn't the strength of his game. And same for Porzingis. He was basically, just the finisher of a play. He wasn't going to create a ton of looks for people too. So going this route, it seems like, let's put all these guys together and see what shakes out.
Yeah, to be effective in the NBA of now, you have to be a three-way guy.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be able to score, facilitate, and defend, right?
Yep.
And you got to be able to, shoot the three, slash, all those things. So now any player who, like, right, Porzingis used to give us a lot of points, but we couldn't really have him switch on anybody. He's too slow. So we have to compete with the teams of now. Every team of now is exactly that.
Yep. Yeah, it's a more modern blueprint.
Right, that's the modern blueprint. So then you see it. You see that it's actually effective, right? And it's been very effective for Sacramento.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing I like about this, Jahadi, I saw a couple people that were kind of bummed about resigning because he would block minutes for some of these young guys. And I'm of the opinion, like, you want your young guys to get reps and stuff like that, but you also want them to have to earn it. Like, nobody wants you to say, like, here's this first round pick. He comes in and he's gifted a starting spot right away. Like, you want him to go beat somebody in camp and take it. Like, if they're starting Coulibaly, hopefully it's because he looked better than Kispert. He looked better than Denny or, any of these other guys. And I think that's a valuable thing to have some vets to try to, set the pace for the rest of the guys.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's the struggle of the NBA now is there's no vets, right? And I like the fact that Kuzma, he's the right age for a vet, right? He's seen enough. He played with enough great players. He's won championships, right? Did he win one in LA?
He won one in LA. Yeah.
Right. So he's saw every experience of the NBA early, right?
Yep.
So now he's transitioning to a really good vet. And he's not too old for the players to not be able to, understand.
He could still bust their ass in practice and stuff like that.
Well, now he bust their ass. He can speak their language.
Yep.
Right. He's still hip, cool enough. He's not out of touch. Right. The game hasn't passed him by type of vet.
Yep.
Right. Where I'm teaching you, I'm talking a different game. You're like, man, you're talking back. So
that's good.
And he's effective in their eyes. They literally see it. So he's, to me, the perfect vet to a player walk in and say, okay, he has a lot of experience and he's kind of earned his right to say what he wants to say and for me to automatically respect it. So especially a person like Jordan Poole, he's going to need somebody in his ear. Yeah. He's going to need somebody in his ear. So
and constructively in his ear too, like someone that's going to talk to him the right way. It's not going to, I'm going to slug you in the face,
Right, exactly. So now you say, okay, when it came probably down to the decision of who do we go, Porzingis or Kuzma, right? Well, who's going to be the better vet? Right.
Yep.
So
makes sense.
Right.
We talked about this, Kuzma was the one pulling Denny aside to do one-on-ones after practice and stuff like that. And like he was always the first person that other young guys mentioned helping him. And I think when you're at this stage in a rebuild, that's not like an inconsequential thing. You can't blow that off. It's just like, well, okay. Like you need the guy who wants to do that. And I think not every established player wants to take that on. So the fact that Kuzma did that willingly, he makes him seem like the good fit, I think.
Right. Long as it was It was organic, right?
Yep.
And most likely it is.
I think so.
And if it's organic, I think that this would be the perfect situation where you would love to pass on as much knowledge and spend. Because what happens is when you're playing against those young guys, you're absorbing a lot too.
Yep. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, you're absorbing a lot too, which means it expands your game, and that sometimes just as much as it helps the young guys, it actually twice as much helps the vet.
Yeah.
Right. Because a veteran is processing things differently. Right. He's knowing I have to have information. I have to have the more information I have, the more effective I am. He's already understanding the NBA is a job.
Yeah.
Right. I've been to 3-4 teams already. Right. He's knowing I've been here, I've been there. I know how this goes. Right. So let me process information. If I can understand your game, I can also build it. But if I can understand your game, there's a lot of factors I can take for mine.
Yep. Makes sense. I think the type of player Kuzma is important here this is a guy that wasn't like a 5-star recruit, immediate one and done. Like he's gotten himself to this point by all counts through like really hard work. Like he came into the league as just sort of like basically a spot up shooter essentially, and had a really good rookie year for an LA team, but he's added something every offseason. And I think at times last year, it looked a little bit like he'd maybe added some things in the offseason, but didn't exactly know when to break certain things out. Like this is on a much lower level, obviously, but for me growing up playing, like, okay, I would add a new skill. And then it took me a while to figure out when were the right times to pick the spots to try to use that new skill. I felt like Kuzma got out a little in front of his skis sometimes last year, and maybe just with like another year of refinement, he'll better utilize that added skill set. If that makes any sense.
It makes 100% sense because I saw the same thing. It looks like, this is what I say, and it's funny, but this is what I say. Kuzma added a lot of Jason Tatum to his game.
Right.
Believe it, exactly, a lot of Jason Tatum to his game, which made him effective as far as like confidently I can get where I need to go. Right now, I don't need a screen. I can get downhill. I got a go-to. I got a counter to get anything I want. Right. But you're right. It looked like at sometimes his second option of what his second read was the wrong read. Yeah. Then he looked like he was just a little bit out of control, fumbled the ball. But that's my going right back to what I said before. He knew he had to add that. Right. And the only way you can figure it out, you got to use it. Yep. It's a lot of guys who train a lot of stuff in the summers, man. And all throughout the summer come back and literally afraid to try to work the kinks and work the problems out and get the solutions during the game on the court.
Yep.
At least he's trying to figure the next phase of his game out. And just as much as sometimes he seemed now, over his skis a little bit, a lot of time you were like, wow, that's a nice move. Yep. That's something new. That was very effective.
Yep.
So, and if I'm a guy watching him, I'm like, okay, he's doing what the younger guys are doing now. Yep. He's not just like stop with his game and now training the same thing over and over and over again.
Yeah, he's still adding stuff even at 27.
He's still building his bag. He's still throwing stuff in his bag.
And that's what he said too in an interview, is that like, I guess David Aldridge reported that Kuzma said, like, I've got more in my bag. I've continued building it out. Like, I want to show some of this stuff. And I think some people took that as a negative of like, oh God, he's going to come out here and like, dribble around real crazy. But I think really what he meant by that was, like, I think I can show I can do even more. And that's a good thing, presumably. And honestly, even if he's not in your long-term plans, if he shows off more here, it makes him an even more valuable trade chip down the road if you decide to move on from him later.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Well, Jahadi, I want you to give your take on this for this one. I think I've said this on the show before, but I think sometimes shooting percentages are like a little overrated. Like whether a guy shoots 40% or 37%, it's kind of about how the defense guards you. And if they treat you like a high-end shooter and a real threat to score, sometimes that's almost as important as what your actual percentage is at the end of the day. Like if Kuzma has so much gravity because teams have seen him get hot and be streaky and go on these runs and hit game winners and things like that, they guard him like a 40+% shooter as opposed to a guy that's only hitting in the mid-30s. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. You, as a person who can shoot, effective shooting a three-pointer, you have to put it up. The reason you have to put it up is because it opens up so much more, right? Make a miss, you have to put it up. And as a defender, okay, he's 37%. I may not play him this time. That'll be the time that he gets hot, right? And you're out the game.
Yep.
So you have to play a 37% free throw. I mean, a three-point shooter, just like you got to play 55, right? As a defender, that's the exact same, right? And then as a shooter, I have to put the ball up because if you're respecting my jumper, I can use that jumper to access the rest of my bag. Because now you have to respect it. So now I can lift you up easy.
Yep.
Right. So just because I'm shooting 33%, I got to keep firing because I got to get downhill when it's not effective.
Exactly. Yeah, and he's a multi threat to score, right? Like he can put the ball on the deck, he can shoot from mid-range, he can go to the basket, he can slash a little bit more. It's not just like he's the 37% catch and shoot guy who can only do that. Like when you've got multiple ways to attack a defense, that and you've got that like the hot streak factor, like that plays into it, I think. And that's on scouting reports of like, hey, this guy might make 7 in a row at some point. He might miss 10 in a row, but like you still have to guard him for the guy that can hit the 7 in a row. And he was also a high 30s catch and shoot guy last year on open look. So I think if someone can create a few more looks for him, we'll see that percentage go up kind of naturally.
You
anyway.
You definitely would. And now, like you said, they can create more looks for him. He'd be open more.
Yeah.
Not only he can shoot on the move, he have more options when he catches the ball.
It's also just he's kind of a shield for the young guys too. Like I think Kuzma is built to take the criticism and stuff like this. Like he gets it at this point in his career. Like it's not just like, okay, let's throw Coulibaly out there to the Wolves from day one. And if he sucks, like as a fan base, we're not the most patient group. So you saw what happened with Johnny Davis last year when he struggled. It was immediately, is he the biggest bust of all time? Like Coulibaly might take some time. So just letting him come in, ease his way in as like a defender, a slasher, an athletic body, and guy who can run in transition. Like it's not as much responsibility on him from day one. And Kuzma can take some of that heat for him, I think.
I think he can. And, Dylan playing on the Lakers, like you taking the maximum amount of pressure.
Exactly.
In a lot of situations. But you also had LeBron to absorb the most of it.
Sure.
Now, I think this is the first time Kuzma is going to be in a situation to where no one gets to absorb the pressure. It's different when you're now the Brad Beal.
Right, exactly. Brad took all of the heat last year for the most part.
Right, so now everything wrong is going to be your fault first. Right? I think he's built for it, but it's a completely different space, right? Heavy as a head to wear the crown. And now you got to understand what you're now getting into, what the team now made you. Once they got rid of the other two guys, right? You're the main guy, right? So, and you're playing in a city where the fans are really looking for need something to happen. It's been a long time, right? So, two wrong moves. Be prepared for it. You just got to handle it.
Yeah, and same thing with Jordan Poole too. Like those will be the two guys that get the most criticism throughout the year, and they'll have the highest usage and the highest contract. So I think that's reasonable. So all right. Anything else on the Kuzma trade before we pivot here to Summer League?
No, other than this, I think think that was the right pick, and I think I'm looking very forward to it.
Yeah, same. It should be fun at the very least. They'll keep it entertaining, and be neat to see if he and Poole can do more next year. All right, for everybody not super familiar with the schedule yet, Wizards kick off their Summer League on Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern time. The Summer League, Vegas portion of Summer League starts on Friday, but the Wizards don't play the first day. They'll play against Indiana. Their second game is on July 9th, which is Sunday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time against Boston. They play again on the 11th at 10:30 p.m. Eastern time against San Antonio. That'll be San Antonio's fourth game, maybe third game at that point. So it'll be curious to see if Victor Wembanyama is still playing Summer League games, that far into the Summer League stretch. Sometimes those big time guys get shut down by then. And then they'll be playing on July 14th at 5 p.m. against Oklahoma City. The 14th is my birthday, so I'm excited to see the Wizards put on a good performance against the Thunder for me. That'll be cool. And I think that should be a good game too, because that Thunder team will be exciting, and it'll be nice to see how our young guys match up with theirs. So, I don't know, Jahadi, you played a Summer League, right? Like, what's this experience like for a young guy?
It's tough. Summer League is tough, especially that first game, and no one's trying to really run the offense. Everybody's the super desperate as far as trying to make the team or just trying to make, training camp to be able to get on the training camp roster, right? So it's tough, right? Just because it's almost more tough for the guy who has a contract.
Okay.
Right. Not the lead, even if you first round, right? Because the pressure is on you. You're not playing against guys that are trying to cater to you to help you score. Like everything is for self. So actually the Summer League was very tough for me.
Okay.
In that regard, I had to really learn how to play in the Summer League because it's a wild pickup game.
Guards are dominating the ball.
Everybody's
and hoisting it at the rim. Yeah.
The guards were if you watch Summer League, the guards very seldomly get to bring the ball up.
It's whoever grabs it and goes.
It's whoever grabs it, they go. Right? It's every man for himself. So, and when I first got there, I didn't understand that. And, I was just kind of like, whoa. So I'm getting nothing. I'm fighting for everything, which is fine, but it's completely different than regular season. It's completely different than training camp.
Yeah.
So, if you saw Brandon Miller the other day, was that yesterday?
Yeah, it was a slow start 2 days ago. Yeah.
It was tough. Yeah. That was a tough start, right?
Yeah.
For even a player like that. 7 fouls, 7 turnovers, but 16 points, something like that.
I think he finished with 18 or 19. Yeah, but it took him a while to get going.
Right, because he had to get used to it. It's not where all you're not the go-to guy. I don't care, right? If you were the number 1, number 2 pick, I got to get mine. I'm trying to get on the training camp schedule.
Yeah.
So Summer League is it's not as easy as guys expect it to be, and you really have to make a quick impact, right? And sometimes you got to make an impact to where even other teams don't. So, say for instance, I'm a guy that's a high assist, so I want to show everybody I can get a certain amount of assists. Well, when you're on the Summer League roster, it's more teams looking at you than just that team.
Yeah, you're auditioning for everybody, right?
You're auditioning for every team. So if they don't know that you're a high assist guy, why didn't he put the ball in the basket?
Yeah, exactly.
Why didn't he take any shots?
This guy can't score. Yeah.
Right. You have to show every single thing. So Summer League is good for players to really have to figure how to get into the NBA or what it's going to be like. Right? Because it can be a little bit. You can get taken back by it as a confident player.
Sure.
You can, until you really get used to it, you can get taken back by it. You're like, oh, I don't know. It will literally make you question yourself.
I think that's what happened with Johnny Davis last year. It was like him not really having a fit or a role and not being aggressive or assertive. So he just looked sort of shell shocked the whole time. And it seemed like that helped, that stuck with him for a lot of the year.
Yeah. Which it does a lot of players.
Mm-hmm.
It does that to a lot of players because most summer league players are good players, or they wouldn't be, right? And they're prime example. This is what summer league is like. When I was at Georgetown, and I think it was my junior year, and the scouts starting to kind of hear about me, the NBA scouts, so they started coming to practice. Mm-hmm. So the first NBA scout came to practice for me.
Yeah. Not for Allen, not for any of these other guys, for you.
Not for everybody else.
Yeah.
You would think I had no teammates.
You were going prime MJ on them, taking the ball down the court, pulling up from 15.
Everybody was.
Yeah.
Everybody said, oh, a scout here?
Right. Yeah. It totally
makes sense. It's my time. Even the second team that we were playing against, hacking me up. I couldn't get anything off. I'm like, I kill you all every day. Who is this guy that's elbowing me in my face to make sure I don't get a basket off, right? To the point, I broke my ankle while the scout was there. I mean, that's the summer league.
Yeah.
That's exactly what the summer league is.
Is there a way for like coaching staffs to mitigate that a little bit? Like I heard last year that the Pacers like ran plays that Arizona ran for Benedict Mathurin to like specifically get him in spots that he was comfortable and familiar. And they wanted to make sure that he looked good and was comfortable and confident. Is there a way we can do something like that and like insert some structure that these guys have to follow to kind of make sure that Coulibaly or Johnny Davis or whoever else we want to feature actually gets into a rhythm and stuff like that?
True. Yes, it is. But you want to see what so I think you do both.
Okay.
You want to see what your players are made of. Mm-hmm. Can they handle the rigors of summer league, the unexpected, how wild it is. Mm-hmm. So I need to know that as an organization. But also, if I know these other guys, I would rather make my main guys feel comfortable, and everybody else had to figure out how to work within that system.
Exactly.
To just throw them into a wild system.
I wondered about that, and that was kind of everybody's first takeaway is that there's a lack of like an air quotes pure point guard on the roster. I wondered if that was going to hurt them, but to your point, like you're not really running set plays and everybody's just kind of bringing the ball up haphazardly anyway. So it may not matter. And that's an opportunity for them to see if Coulibaly can do that kind of stuff, if Johnny Davis is ready to do that kind of stuff. Ryan Rollins and Patrick Baldwin, when the Golden State trade goes through, join. Can Patrick Baldwin bring the ball up court and create something? Like those are all things I think, this is an opportunity to find out the answer to. And make, it's not definitive. If he can't do it in summer league, it doesn't mean he can't do it ever, but at least it gives you like an early data point, maybe.
It does. And if I'm the Wizards, I'm really looking for who can be effective for us as a guard. Mm-hmm. That's one thing that I'm creating. Like, no, give the ball to guard. I want them to bring it up. I want them to run, which means now I have to implement some offers.
Sure.
Because I want to see if they can
key
run
plays or whatever.
Yeah. Right. So I would be searching. So that would be my main thing. Everybody else had to fall in the fray. If you shine, if you look good, great. Mm-hmm. But then there's all this. But right now I'm searching for my most effective guards, my most effective guys who can facilitate, my guys who can make reads, my guys who's turning the ball over the least, mm-hmm. who's more of being a floor general, right? So that would be my main concern with this summer league this summer, mm-hmm. if I'm the Wizards.
Yeah, is that going to happen? And there's a lot of mouths to feed here too.
Yeah, I would push for it.
Yeah. That'll be definitely very interesting. It's for anybody who hasn't seen the overall roster so far. We've got obviously the 2 draft picks. You've got Bilal Coulibaly and Tristan Vukcevic, kind of a 7-foot stretch big. So not a ton of like big bigs on this team. So I think you see some minutes of Vukcevic at the 5, I would think. The other 2, Kyle Alexander, who's played Summer League the last couple years. I've seen him in person. He's long, athletic. He runs the floor really hard. He'll block some shots. Good rebounder. And then Asuna out of Iowa State, also started at St. Bonaventure, played 5 years in college basketball. Another rim running, shot blocking big, not really going to stretch the floor much. So that seems to be something they're emphasizing, as someone to clean up the glass and run in transition with them. Couple swingmen, which is interesting. You got Jules Bernard that went to UCLA, played for the Go-Go last year, was one of their better players. You've got DJ Stewart, who played for the Sioux Falls Skyforce last year. Real big time scorer, 22 point per game kind of guy. Donovan Williams, another wing that played in the G League last year for the College Park Skyhawks, and another 15, 16 point per game scorer. All 3 like switchable wings, and Stewart and Williams are better athletes than Bernard is, but that'll be interesting. And that's really kind of the 3 position next to Coulibaly. You've got Xavier Cooks, who they added from the Sydney Kings last season. He'll get some run here. I wouldn't be surprised if Cooks maybe even play some small ball 5 with this team, and they let him run a little bit. You've got his teammate, Dejan Vasiljevic, another guy that played 4 years at Miami. He's been with the Sydney Kings. Pretty much every time he takes it, he's shooting a 3. I think you can kind of say that going in. Like, he's going to boost him up. And then obviously Johnny Davis will be really interesting to see what he does. And Quentin Jackson, kind of everybody's favorite player from the Capital City Go-Go last year. Insanely athletic, little skinny, not like a great shooter so far, but maybe the best athlete on either, the Wizards or the Go-Go roster. So he should be fun in a summer league environment. And then, as I mentioned, you might get Ryan Rollins and Patrick Baldwin Jr. as late additions to the team here once that trade goes through tomorrow or the day after. So any names there, Jahadi, that you're like really specifically interested in or want to see more from?
Well, I think like Quentin Jackson and DJ Stewart, I think they'd be some exciting players.
Yeah.
Because they're looking to score every time, looking to score first.
Yeah.
Right. And there's active players. So that would be the excitement of watching. But as far as what I'm looking for as an organization, it would be those 2 bigs, Osuni and Alexander, because we're going to need some shot blockers and some rim runners.
Yep.
I mean, with the way things are setting up, of how our backcourt is, we're not going to need a lot of very effective scorers in the center position. We're going to need some protectors, some guys who can protect the paint, some guys who can rebound, and some guys who can rim run. Right. So I'm really and it seemed like that's the type of big they're going for, because that's the type of bigs they're bringing in. Right.
That's their type. It seems like obvious they have a type.
Yeah, let's do those specific things, and you got to be able to guard 1 through 5. Right? Yeah. So that'll look good. And then with Tristan, him to stretch the floor. If he can, like you said, he's a poor man's Porzingis, pretty much. To where if he can stretch the floor, if we can get up a lot of shots, now you can throw a team with a traditional big, which that's not really the case anymore. But the tall guy, bring him out, you spread the floor. Now you can open up a lot of things for Jordan Poole and a lot of things for Kuzma.
Yeah.
And then in the end of the day, I think everybody's really, really, really wants to check out Bilal.
Yeah.
Right. And at the end of the day, you really want to see what he's made of. I think he can be a very effective point guard for us and a very effective player for us. And it's really his show right now. It's his summer league.
That's what it looks like with this roster, is that like they very much plan to give him the keys.
Right. And which is good.
Yeah.
Because it's going to either expose them or show them more than they actually thought.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can look at film all day, you can look at video all day, but when you put somebody in the starting line, I mean, and would give them the keys to the car, and they get to drive the bus, they can really show you a lot, or it can be too much for them. So we'll see.
Yep. Yeah, I totally agree. I go back and forth with this. Like every year, there's somebody that blows up in summer league and then never does anything in the league. Like it's not the most meaningful takeaway, but I do think teams learn a lot about what to, like you can see what Coulibaly needs to work on or where your player development guys like really need to specialize. Like maybe he needs a counter for the way this kind of guy defends him, that sort of thing.
Right. You can really throw him in a fire.
Yeah.
Like you really want to get Coulibaly all the fire you can give him.
Just to see what he can take.
But don't forget, he's already a professional player.
That's true too. Yep.
Right. So he's seen it. He's seen a lot. He's seen most of what. So a lot of overseas guys that become very good in the NBA,
mm-hmm.
they stay overseas was much tougher.
Sure.
Much faster. They say the NBA was easier to read, easier to make read,
easier to score too.
Easier to be a scorer.
Yeah.
So I'm expecting the same thing for Bilal,
mm-hmm.
for Coulibaly, right? I'm expecting, and now Summer League is not the NBA at all.
Sure.
Don't get me wrong. Summer League
special
is
pickup.
Uncontrolled college, college ball. It's like it's right. It's not the NBA. It's a league that's played with a lot of guys are playing with a lot of desperation.
Mm-hmm.
And you know how that goes.
It's like less structured G League almost, like it's
worse because you got to understand a lot of these guys, it's like their only chance.
Mm-hmm.
G League, okay, guys sometimes know I may not make it up. So like, and it's a lot of games. Summer League is not a lot of games.
Sure.
And everybody is trying to just kill everybody.
mm-hmm.
So it's tough to really coach it.
Yeah.
And it's exciting to watch. Some leagues are exciting to watch, but you can watch it like, wow, it's
chaos.
Very unorganized.
Yep. I guess the other thing I would just caution Wizards fans is if we only see like 2 or 3 games from Coulibaly, don't be surprised. Like it's not uncommon for those kinds of players to not play the entire slate of games. So they'll use the last game, the 4th game maybe, to be the one to see some of these fringe guys who are the ones that they want to add to the go-go, who are the guys who get exhibit 10s to get to go to Wizards training camp. Like that's when you'll see like the Donovan Williams or the DJ Stewarts, I think, really get like much higher volume or higher usage.
Right. I think they just tested Coulibaly out, figure out what I think with Coulibaly, they just try to say, hey, we need to create a list for the player development guys.
Yep.
Right. Yeah, we've seen enough.
Here's our action items.
Player development. Let's get them going now.
Mm-hmm. The thing I like too is they've announced the Wizards Summer League coach is Landon Tatum. Landon was a go-go associate head coach under Mike Williams last year. So he's familiar with guys in this kind of setting too, I think. And some of these guys that, how to get guys to mesh together when they are, competing with different priorities and things like that. So he'll have that experience. He's also been a player development guy for the Wizards, big squad before. So I think he'll also kind of get that and maybe be able to help translate. All right, this is what I saw from Coulibaly that we need to work on. And he'll be maybe one of those guys helping them do that. And we'll see what the new coaching staff duties look like. There's also a world where he's the go-go coach this year. That hasn't been named yet. So it might be a first look for him at some of these guys that will get G League minutes as we go.
Yeah. Well, if you notice, a lot of G League coaches, a lot of the Summer League coaches end up moving. They really take those positions. They really want those coaching those Summer League positions.
Yep.
Because the next move, they're ready to make a next move.
Agreed.
Right. Most of the Summer League coaches I saw end up in the next 2 to 3 years making a big move, either college or to the NBA or to a head coach.
Yep. Yeah, somebody was asking on one of the Bolts Forever chats about like, is Wes Unseld Jr. going to coach this team? And it's like, no, the NBA head coach, like, I won't say never, maybe it's happened, but almost never coaches the summer league team. Maybe Taylor Jenkins did it his first year in Memphis, I think, but for the most part, like Wes will be in the stands sitting next to the front office guys, and they'll be taking notes and shaking hands. And I'm bummed I cannot go to summer league this year, but for anybody that hasn't decided what they're doing yet, I would highly recommend it. It's awesome. You see everybody. It's the who's who. And you can be really close to these Wizards guys. I mean, you can be 3 rows behind their bench while it's going on, especially if they're in the smaller gym. And it's really easy. I think a couple other people were asking how tickets and things like that work. You buy 1 ticket and it gets you in all the games for that slated day, for that day in both arenas. It's your choice which one you want to sit through and go back and forth.
And it's never sold out or packed out.
Yeah.
So, everybody, people can go. It's not expensive.
Yep.
And it's
enjoyable to watch for the whole day. Yeah, it's great.
And the games aren't long.
Yep. Right.
And the games aren't long. So that's like 10-minute quarters.
Yeah, you can move pretty quickly, and they don't do a lot of TV timeouts and stuff. So like you're in and out of there in less than 2 hours, I think.
Yeah. You see everybody, like you said. It's a handshaking festival.
Exactly. The only time I would say I did see a sellout was the one year I went while Zion was there. First set of games. So maybe if you're going the first day that Wembanyama plays, maybe get your ticket early. But that's the other veteran move too, is if you really want to see a player, go set up in whatever gym they're going to be in a game early. And that way you've got, seats for you and whoever you're there with. And especially like if Wembanyama's still playing. Was that?
Especially in that small gym.
Exactly. Yeah, you want to get in there first. And if the Wizards are playing against the Spurs and Wembanyama's still playing, you might want to get there 2 games early.
And you better catch him while you can, because you already skipped the first game.
Right. So it's
he's not going to play a lot. He's not going to play the entire summer league.
Yeah, for sure. If he gets 2 games, I think that's probably best case scenario. So I'm with you. Jahadi, the last guy I want to talk about here just a little bit in more depth, and then we'll get out of here, is Patrick Baldwin Jr. You and I talked about him a little bit before we recorded. He went to University of Milwaukee, played for his dad, was a 5-star recruit, could have gone to Duke or Kentucky or any of these other schools he wanted to. Opted to play for Pops. Didn't really work out particularly well for either of them, and his dad eventually got let go as well. Kind of hurt his draft stock. He fell to 27. The Warriors just flipped him to us for the 57th pick, which is wild that they would give up on a guy they took in the first round that quickly. But, you got to see him on the grassroots scene and saw what made him, this kind of special, elite recruit. I guess, can you talk about his game and what you saw from him a little bit for people that haven't, seen like unleashed Patrick Baldwin Jr. yet?
Well, when I watched Patrick Baldwin Jr., he was pretty much a men amongst boys, right? Mm-hmm. Just his skill level, everything he could do, his confidence level, his size. He has an NBA body.
Yep.
I watched him in the Highland Shootout, Illinois, and he played against Tristan Terrace Reed at Michigan,
the
center, and they played against each other. And he kind of had his way with him, and you just saw. You knew you were looking at an NBA player right then and there. I think sometimes with those type of guys, when they follow their father, so in any situation, especially when it's your parent can teach you a lot. It's most coaches who have sons like that coach on a high level like college or with a lot of experience. They know all the little idiosyncrasies and all the little ins and outs of basketball to get their kid an advantage and really put that work in. And they have all the resources, right? But at the same time, you don't know what everybody else could give him.
Yeah, could add more to his game.
That hurts sometimes more than just having them follow you the entire time. I personally think if Patrick Baldwin didn't follow his coach to college and went to a program to where he had to figure it out on his own and had to be put under pressure, and the coach saying, look, I don't care who you are, right? Everybody's a new player. I don't care what happened in high school. When you come through these doors, you got to earn it all over again.
Mm-hmm.
And then somebody say, okay, well, why haven't you been working? Why didn't, now, because different eyes, it's just like with the Wizards hiring 3 GMs, right?
Yeah, they all see something different.
Because if one GM knew everything, they wouldn't need all of them, right? So it's what the other one may have missed or what he didn't see.
Mm-hmm.
And with your parents, just as much they can really analyze your game, a lot of what you need to work on, but somebody else may see something totally different, right? And you don't get the opportunity. You don't get the opportunity to say, okay, well, this guy can build another part of me, right? It's almost, I consider it like dating. People have a list of what they want.
Right.
And to me, the worst thing is a list of what you want.
Sure.
Right? Because
you don't really know.
Well, yeah, no one really knows what they want, because now what you're doing is keeping yourself away from things you've never seen or never experienced before.
Yep.
Right?
Exactly.
Because of what you want.
Mm-hmm.
It's better to know what you don't want. I got to listen to what I don't want.
Yeah, what to stay away from, for sure.
Yeah, what to stay away from. So to me, I felt like that's the situation of what I want. Mm-hmm. And what he didn't do is be able to get new experiences, anybody else critiquing this game and being able to say, well, what about this avenue? Sure. Let's start building here. Let's start building there. And from the player that I saw in high school to the player that we're getting now, it's not because he's not capable. He's capable of being one of the top players in the NBA from
skill set perspective and stuff.
Skill set perspective, body perspective. So to me, it's just making the wrong moves. I felt like he followed his parents too long. Yeah,
I think Coach K or somebody could have given him a few more things to work through than maybe
put him in a good situation, right?
And also, some guys just aren't built to be around a team of guys that are low major players and carry them. Like the expectation that he would be, making them a tournament team when they were kind of like a lower tier team in their league it's a lot of responsibility for one.
But if you do freshman. Go low major, you don't go with your parent.
Yeah, I come with you.
Reason being is your parent is going to always. It's hard to be a coach when you think when you always your kid first.
Sure, it's hard for those other players too.
Yeah, right. And natural as a parent, so I'm going to coach my kid first and coach my team. Right. Along with that, but maybe that's going to be the second priority in considering. So I think it's a time you got to separate that. Yeah. Now we've seen it work for, Jawan and his son. Mm-hmm. But then Jawan and if you notice their dynamic is he let him grow. Mm-hmm. Right. Probably maybe behind the scenes, he probably talked to him, but
sure.
It seemed like Jawan was making sure he was a coach first.
I think this Baldwin situation was tough too, because the dad was kind of on the hot seat. And I think the expectation was that, a good year with his son was the best recruit he's ever going to get. Maybe that saves his job. Like now as a freshman in college, you have to make your team a winning team all of a sudden. You've got to save your dad's job and you've got to make yourself be a one and done prospect. Like that's a lot. I mean, that's a lot. So.
Right. And then what do you do as a parent after now you're in this situation?
Exactly.
Do you feel like you ruined your son's chances? Yeah. Because to me, that sounds like you being selfish.
Yeah, for sure.
You had your turn. Yep. It's his turn now.
Yeah, I agree. So I hope he can turn it around. I hope we get to see more of the guy that, you got to see out on the AAU scene a little bit. So fingers crossed for that. And then we've got another young player from Toledo in Ryan Rollins. Again, was really good for the Santa Cruz Warriors last year. So I'm excited to see him play. He was a guy I was high on pre-draft too. So there's some dudes. I think this is the most exciting Wizards Summer League team, in a decade probably. So this will be cool.
Yeah, it seems like a very exciting team. We got a lot of guys who don't care about putting that ball up and don't care about going in, and active, really exciting type of players.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, last year's group was a lot of like 27, 28-year-old guys that played overseas, never sniffed the NBA, and that was kind of just like a weird setup, I think. Like we've got dudes, like this is cool. So I'm excited to watch these games. Bummed I can't be there, but it should be pretty awesome. Jahadi, anything else we haven't hit on that you want to touch on before we call it a day here?
No, we pretty much covered it. Definitely covered it.
Cool. All right, everybody. You know the drill. Rate, review, subscribe, all that good stuff. Leaving us those reviews on iTunes and things like that are super helpful for us. It helps get the show moved to the top of these lists when people search for them. So that's important. If you're liking these YouTube live streams, subscribe to the YouTube channel here, and then hit the like button a bunch of times when you're listening to these. That also helps us kind of promote the show a little bit too. So we appreciate that. As always, we're brought to you by betonline.ag, and we will catch y'all next time.